Hi folks, this is John from Sharp Mountain Games, and today we are playing superheroes. And I'm hoping to have a great time, so I hope you'll join me after the intro. Hi folks, and welcome to Sharp Mountain Games. Here we talk about group games, solo games, and we even have some actual plays in our live tab. You can also check out our print and PDF products at Amazon, Roll20, Drive-Thru, and Lulu, and they're all linked below. Now let's get to the good stuff. Today we're playing superheroes. And let me just give you a little rundown on the system that I'm using. It's a homebrew system, roughly based on White Hat or Black Hat, in that it's D20 roll under. And we're going to have two superheroes today. And they're archetypes. You know, you're going to be able to recognize what kind of characters they're based on. But obviously, I don't want to violate copyright or anything like that, you know, because I don't own them. So we've got a spidery type character. And each character has 4 stats: strength, dexterity, intelligence, and charisma. And they go like 14, 12, 10, and 8. So they have something they're really great at, some things they're not as good at. And they roll that, and you roll that number or less to see if you succeed. And then their powers and skills are also ranked, but they're ranked with a dice. So like if you have super strength, maybe your super strength is a D12, and you roll that to see the effect. And the effect is important because it's not only damage, you know, if you're fighting an opponent, but I have it more as scene points. So if you're trying to break something, well, there's so many scene points that you have to overcome. If you're trying to defuse a bomb, there's so many scene points you have to overcome. There might also be a time limit on that too. I don't know if that applies to anything here today. And credit where credit due, a lot of the plot elements, for this adventure come from an issue. I believe it was Marvel 2-in-1. Or Marvel Team Up, I'm not sure, but they do come from one of those issues where I got some ideas for the plot, but hopefully we'll change it and change up some things too. And I certainly encourage you to do that. I think comic books are a great way to get elements to use in your games. So let's get started. You know, let's have a little story here and see what happens. And then I have my dice tower here because I want you to be able to see my rolls. But what this is good for is, if I roll otherwise, I knock over my little figures. And it took me like 4 sessions to realize maybe you should use the dice tower since you have it. And I really like these blue dice because they remind me of the light blue dice that came with my very first basic Dungeons & Dragons sets way back in the early 1980s. So I've got my character card here where I can see it. You know, I'm just kind of behind the space bar on my keyboard. And then I have some notes here. I won't show those to you. It's not necessary. I have a little card here just to keep track of hit points or scene points and things like that. So let's get right into it. So our Rocky type superhero, he's a very fantastic fellow, but he's big and he's covered in kind of scaly, rocky things. And he is today, it's a Sunday in Sharp Mountain City, and there is a Renaissance fair. So he's decided to go down to the Renaissance Fair, you know, and see what's going on. Maybe he just wants to see all the people. Now, there's a lot of people. This represents a big, big park in the center of Sharp Mountain City. And he's seeing what's all going on down there, you know, seeing who's all around. I'm just moving my light here a little bit so it's not in the way. And a young child, you know, when the children see him, they run up to him immediately. They're very interested in him. They want them to put him on the shoulders. But, you know, some of the parents are concerned, you know, because they know he's a superhero, but they're just not sure. They don't know him as well as we do. And he puts one on the shoulder and the mother comes up, please don't hurt him. So he tries to calm her down. Oh, don't worry, lady, don't worry. But his charisma's only an 8. So let's see how he does. 18. So he's not able to quite mollify her. Oh, she's worried. She said, please put him down. So he said, oh, don't worry, I'm used to this. And he very gently takes the child off his shoulder, sets the child down very, very gently, you know, and then he goes off with his mother. He's thrilled. Oh, Mom, that was great. I was on his shoulders and he was talking to me. But our Rocky superhero is feeling a little bit dejected. You know, he's feeling like because of his kind of monstrous appearance, people are never really going to accept him. Now, our kind of web-based superhero, let's say, a very climby type fellow, is also there in his civilian identity. And he is there taking pictures because he's hoping to sell them to one of the newspapers that he does a lot of part-time or freelance work for. So he'd really like to sell these pictures because he can always use the money, you know, as a college student and to help his relatives. So our, like I said, our spidery type hero is there taking pictures, and our rocky type hero, he goes by, and this chess piece here will represent, now there's a maypole. So there are people holding on to the ribbons, and they're dancing around this. And they're both looking, you know, they're both in roughly the same area, and they're watching all this. And all of a sudden, the maypole, the ribbons turn into almost like tentacles, and they grab the people, the 4 or 5 people who are here, and have lifted them to the air, and the people are screaming because these tentacles are squeezing them. Now, our Rocky type superhero doesn't know the other hero in his civilian identity. They've worked together before as heroes, you know, in the masked identity, but not as his civilian identity. Our Rocky type superhero doesn't really have a civilian identity, or at least not a hidden one. So he runs and he says, hold on, hold on. And he gets a hold of the maypole, and he's going to try to gently, you know, if he can break it off or if he can lay it down on the ground. And our photographer hero, he realized, oh, this is a problem. I've got to go. So he ducks into some bushes and is going to try to change, or is definitely going to change into his superhero costume. So let's roll here and see what happens as he tries to bring down the maypole gently. So the maypole attack has a certain number of scene points to get these people on the ground safely. And let's see how he does. 17, which is above his strength. It's 14. You might say, well, he's super strength. Yeah, but the 14 really more refers to his ability to use it properly. The 7 is the effect. So he is struggling with this thing and can't quite bring it down. Now, that does give our spider time to get into his costume and to swing over into action. We're going to have the Rocky superhero go first. And he kind of out of the corner of his eye sees the spider and says, oh, nice of you to join us, pal. I could use some help. I'm going to try to bring it to the ground, but you worry about the people. Good. So he rolls a 2, and he gets a 4 for his effect points, or his scene points. So let's see. Then our spider character says, all right, and he is going to use his dexterity and his web slinging. And those are his best one. So it's also a D20 to see if he can do it, and a D12 to see its effect. And let's see. Let's see how good we do. No, 18. That's not enough. All right. So he has broken off the maypole and is holding it and is saying, I'm going to try and let him down gently. You know, let's see what we can do. 8 and 10. Okay, that's enough. So the maypole is down on the ground, and he's able to, lay it down so the people are not hurt. And they both rush around and they pull these people into safety. And I'm not going to require a roll for that because they'd certainly be able to do that. And of course, our Rocky superhero says, seems like you are struggling a bit there, pal. And the spider says, well, you too. That I don't know what caused this. You know, it almost seems like it's supernatural or super science or something. So they get the people down, and they talk to one another. You know, we better check out. We better see what's going on here. Something's wrong. And our spider hero, he hollers to the people. He says, folks, you might want to get away. You might want to get away. Something's wrong here. And as they're doing that, and we'll assume there's a fence here. Maybe we can even build a little fence here. These are just dominoes that I spray painted. So on the other side of the fence was the jousting exhibition. And luckily our spider and our Rocky type hero, Rocky, did not take any damage there. But jumping over the fence and heading straight for them is one of the knights with his lance. And he is coming on strong and trying to damage them. So I think this is going to be more of a combat sort of situation here. So let's roll a d6. I use a d6 for initiative. 1, 2, 3, the players go first. 4, 5, 6, the opponents go first. 4. Okay, the Lancer is going first. So he is riding, and Rocky notices, and he says, "Look at his eyes. Look at the knight's eyes. They're kind of like glowing red." And the lance is coming at our spider-type character. So let's see what happens here. 18 and 1. So the jouster misses. And our spider says, "We got to take him down. We've got to, he's liable to injure somebody." So he is going to use his webs to try and grab the lance from him, to disarm him. And let's see how he does there. And I'm going to count that even though it didn't go through the tower. It still bounced around enough. Okay, 6 is good. That's well under his dexterity of 14. And 5 is good too. The lance had 5 scene points. So he disarms him. "I disarmed him, big guy. See what you can do." So our Rocky-type hero is going to come up, and Rocky's going to try and wrestle him off the horse and, kind of slam him to the ground. Now, he suspects that there's something else going on here, that this guy may not be actually of evil intent, because he was just doing the jousting thing at a Renaissance fair. That's not doesn't attract evil thug types or whatever. So he's going to try that, and it'll be the same thing. We'll use his super strength because I think that's what he would do to wrestle him down. Oh, look at that. Very nice. That's a 1 and a 7. So I'm going to say he pulls him to the ground, and the horse does not seem affected by this. The horse kind of gallops away, and hopefully somebody else can take care of the horse. We'll leave the horse there because we need something to represent the Lancer. I happen to come across this box of mixed set of ancient chess pieces, so I'm happy to get them into the play here. And he says, try to web him up. Try to web him up. Okay, we're going to let the Lancer go next, though. He does try to take a slug at Rocky here. 4 and 6. So you figure, he's, you or I maybe hitting him wouldn't do much damage, but he's probably wearing iron chainmail gauntlets. Now he did 6 damage, but because of his rocky skin, we reduced that by 3. So I'm going to make a little note here, how many points of damage he took or scene points he took. And let's see if we can ensnare him. Now, ensnaring is a little bit different. If he ensnares him, he doesn't do any damage to him. But the problem is then the next round, he's going to have to try to break free from that. So let's see how we do here. 18 and 9, he is not able to do that. So Rocky said, "Well, I got to try and give him a love tap and, try to knock him out here." Let's see how that goes. Yeah, that's plenty good. So he knocks him out without, doing any permanent damage, hopefully. And they confer to talk about, real quickly, well, what's going on here? Something's wrong at this Renaissance fair. This just isn't right. And the spider says, I'm not sure. And he kind of looks around, and he's trying to see if he can see anything unusual, if either of them can see anything unusual. So I think that would be intelligence, probably. Yeah, and that's fine for our spider. He's pretty intelligent. He has a 12. Even Rocky has a 10, so that would have been good for either one of them. And he says, I did notice something. There was a young fella dressed as a wizard, and I went by him, and he seemed really dazed. All I know is he was over by the big tent. They have a circus tent set up for some indoor exhibitions, or in case of rain, in case they needed to move the jousting and some of the medieval demonstrations inside there. And he said, "Well, there's no time to lose. We've got to get after him and see what's going on." Let me just get a little sip of water here, folks. I don't mean to interrupt, but it really does dry your mouth out. So they move through the fair. I'm just going to move them over here so we have a little bit more room to set things up. And this can be the entrance to the tent. And we would definitely have some bleachers in there. Let me just quick snag a couple more, a few more dominoes here to be the bleachers. I think that looks pretty good as steps, maybe 3 there. Move them over there. And they even think they hear, you know, possible incantations from inside. Well, no time like the present. I'm rushing in, says Rocky. He's not one to wait around for things. So he runs through, tears some of the tent along the way here. And our spider swings in. We'll have him swing in. And yes, it's silly, and these are toys, but you know, you got to have a good time. It's certainly better than some other stress we could have. And what we see is way on top of the bleachers is the wizard. And I have this little dark wizard I printed out. He was just handy on my desk. I 3D printed him. And he can definitely work. And in the middle, coming up through the ground, is this odd, almost demon-like creature. I just have this shambling mountain figure. Again, they were handy, so I thought they would certainly do. I do have some superhero figures, but like I said, I don't want to violate copyright because I don't own these characters. And I think we can have just good enough a time, make them a little bit more generic the way they are. So, you know, Rocky says, "Oh, holy smokes there. What's that thing? Did he call some demon up?" And the spider says, "Well, I don't know. I don't necessarily believe in demons. I'm not sure." So we've got to do an initiative roll and see what's happening here. So like I said, 1, 2, 3, the good guys go. 4, 5, 6, the opponents go. 1. And, you know, even though I'm playing this as a demonstration and as a solo thing, this is my solo gaming. I'll record this in my journal for them so that they can have had this adventure. And I really do get excited with the dice rolls too. So just so you know, I'm trying to do the real thing, or as real as possible. This is not scripted. I didn't play this out beforehand. Now, obviously, it's a little bit linear because I have some information from the comic book where I took a lot of the ideas from. Okay, so our big guy says, "I'm going after that thing. I'm taking him down." And then our spider says, "Well, I'll go after the wizard here." All right, so let's say he's the big guy's he's looking around and he's gonna grab a tent pole and try and put it around him to restrain the demon-like creature. So his strength is a 14, so we need less than a 14, and his super strength is a D12. So we'll see what happens here. A 4 is good. And that's 11. So he is able to take one of the tent poles, and the tent sags in that area, wraps it around this guy. Now, that's not 11 scene points of damage on that guy. What it is he would have to break free or start to, next round, need an 11 to break free. And then anybody who's trying to hit him, if our spider is able to take care of it, would come after him. And it would be an auto hit because he's captured there, although we would still roll for damage or roll for the scene points. So he is going to try to swing in and knock him off the bleachers. So I think that would be more of a dexterity kind of attack, you know, rather than a pure strength attack. And again, it'll probably be with the web slinging rather than super strength because they're not going toe to toe here. So let's see what happens. A 5 and an 8. Okay. So, yeah, he is able to, boom, knock into him, knock him off the bleachers, and that's going to do some damage to him. So in terms of his scene points, I'll have to take those off the wizard's scene points here. That's 8, so that's 22. I should make a note that that's for our wizard character. And here's for our demon. So I think it's now time for the bad guys to go. So the wizard, and what's odd about the wizard, and our spider can see this, especially since he hit him and he's in close with him, he could see, this is just a young guy. This is just like a 25, 28-year-old. The beard that he has on is obviously a fake beard, the kind of thing you'd buy at Party City or order off of Amazon. This is not, an old Gandalf or Saruman type. And the spider says, yeah, what's going on? Why are you doing this? And the wizard does his Eldritch Blast on him. And that's a D10, and he has a 12 in that. Oh, and he just gets to 12 because it's 12 or under, and he does 4 points of damage to our spider. And actually only 3, because our spider has kind of a spidery sense that sort of lets him avoid some damage. It kind of acts like armor. Okay, now the big guy here. He is trying to break free, and he is very evenly matched with the thing. So he needs an 11 in terms of his effect to break out of that tent pole that he wrapped around, and 14 is his strength. So he gets a 2, so that's successful, and a 9. So he's not free yet, but he is slowly rooching around there and almost free. You think you're something, big guy, says Rocky. So he's going to auto hit because the creature is still bound here. So we'll just do an effect dice on him. 12. Ooh, look at that. So that is definitely going to bring our demon down a little bit. And I know my scrap paper here is real messy, but that's all right. So this is how many scene points they have left. So let's see. So I believe our spider gets to go next. And now he's just down and he's toe-to-toe with him. So he's not really, since he swung in and hit him, I don't think he's going to be able to use his webbing. I think he's going to have to use his super strength and his regular strength, which is a 10. So we want a 10 or less as he tries to slug this guy. And he's trying to knock him out. 11. Nope, that's a miss. I always say honor the failed roll, and that's a failed roll. Okay, so our wizard steps back a bit, and he's saying some incantations in a language, that nobody here knows, and maybe he doesn't even know. So a 12, and then he rolls a D10 for effect. Nope, he misses. So there's this Eldritch Blast that doesn't work. And then our big guy is going to, the big green demon or elemental guy, whatever he is trying to break free here. No, it's holding. So that's very good. You can't get free. So our Rocky hero, he gets an auto hit. And how much damage does he do? 2. Oh, not very much. But it's all something. Let's see how our spider's doing. Oh, he's doing fine. He whittles down at that wizard, and he said, I'm sorry, pal, you're making me do this. So 8. Got to do the math in my head. Yep, we're okay. Okay, now I believe it's the bad guy's turn again. He is still struggling and trying to break free. And let's see if he does. No, this is good. You ever those times where you're just rolling bad, and you know, and I want my PCs to win too, but we got to do it fair and square. So let's see. I think our wizard went, and this guy went. No, our wizard has to go this round. And if I goofed up, somebody can correct me in the comments. But I'm not re-recording it. 11 and 3. So he fires like an Eldritch Blast at our spider. Hey, that stings, Pally. Let's see where we're going from there. So our big rocky guy, he gets an auto hit because the other creature's restrained. Yeah. That's very nice. He gets a good slug. And he doesn't mind beating up on this big guy because he's not quite sure that he's real anyway. Now, our spider-based superhero is going to jump back and say, he's had enough going toe-to-toe with this guy. He said, I think we're done here. He's going to try to web him up. So that would be his dexterity, which is a 14. I need a D20 here. And his web slinging is a D12. Let's see how he does. 11, which is fine, and 6. So our wizard would have to break free with a 6 here to get out of that next round. So I think both my heroes went. All right, so we'll do wizard. He is trying to break free. And I'm going to say he has, I don't have it written down. I'm going to say he has a 6 strength there to try to snap out those webs, because he probably can't use his Eldritch Blast there with being webbed up. His hands are probably webbed up like that. And I don't think he's especially, like I said, this is just some guy. So maybe we'll say it's a 6. Maybe he works out a little bit. Oops, and the D20, 3, and a 20. No, he does not get any scene points. He is reaching around and trying to get out of that web. And let's see what happens. The big guy gets an auto hit. That's a D12. Oh, very nice. He slugs this guy. He falls to the ground, and something weird happens. He kind of almost shimmers and if you think about the transporter effect, especially on the original Star Trek, so this thing disappears, almost like he wasn't there. So we can put him aside. Hey, pretty snazzy, huh, pal? Okay, let's see. So Rocky went. I don't think our spider guy went because he tried to break free. So he's going to swing in and try and he said, I'm going to just try and knock him out. Let's see what happens. So his strength is a 10 and his super strength is, or super strength rather, is a D10, and we roll the D20. He needs a 10 or less on the D20. 3 and 3. So he kind of, unfortunately, said, again, I'm sorry, pal. He's trying to knock this guy out. Let's see if our guy can break free of the web here, if our wizard can. Yes, he does. He breaks free of the web, but that's all he can do. He's loose again. Get him, big guy. So our big guy comes in and is trying to charge, kind of just trying to knock him down and knock the wind out of him. He doesn't want to kill him. He doesn't know, what's going on with this guy. 2, which is good, and 4. And, things are really, really busy here. And our spider, I think, is going to try and also, like they're trying to subdue this guy. They hate to do it, but they know they suspect he's causing a danger to the other civilians here in the area. Nope, 20's no good. So this guy is free, and he's going to try his blast at the at our Rocky hero. Does he hit? 3. He hits, but because of his rocky hide, it doesn't do anything. Ha ha ha! Not today, Pally. And they're both going to try a hit. So let's have Rocky give it a try. 5. I better write these things down so that I have them. And let's see if our spider can end the match here. Oh, yeah, that should be good. That should be good. So they subdue this fellow. They finally get him to the ground. And our spider is looking him over, and he notices something. He notices that on the back of the guy's neck, almost below where your ear is, there's some kind of metal device. And it seems like it has prongs that are going back into the guy's, into his neck, maybe even into the brain. And he says, come here, look at this. So he is going to try and use his science, which is a D8, and his intelligence is a 12. And he's going to he says, I think this is the problem. He's going to try and see if he can pull it off as gently as he can without doing any damage to this guy. So with 3, oh, look at that effect dice. An 8, perfect. That's as high as you can get, obviously. So the 3 is under his intelligence of 12, and his science ability is an 8. You might say, well, what if he was trying to do medicine or something else, and he doesn't have a skill in it? Then we would use a D4. That's for, if you don't have any particular skills. But I think that's perfect. I think he's able to pull this off, and the guy comes to. And he looks up and his eyes get so wide. He says, what am I doing here? Well, I recognize you guys from the newspapers and the TV. Well, oh, and he said, I feel awful. Like I've been roughed up or something. And of course, Rocky doesn't have much sympathy for that. He says, yeah, well, what about all the trouble you've been causing? You almost hurt people here, pal. Well, I can't even remember. I can't even remember anything from the last hour or so, he says. What's going on? And the spider shows him the device. He says, this was, in your neck, and something was going on. I don't think you're a real magician. I don't think this was real Gandalf stuff. And he says, no, I'm just a street performer. I don't know anything about this. And of course, the police are all showing up and all that. And the spider says, big guy, I think we should take this back quietly and see if we can figure out what's going on here. He said, I know somebody who's really good with science. And, he'd probably be able to tell us what's going on a little bit better. And he says, I get you, Pally. He says, so the boys in blue start to show up. Now our spider, he swings off. He may not be, as a vigilante, he may not be as welcome to be around here for the police. The big guy says, I'll take care of this. I'll meet you back at my place, back up at the apartment. Let's say in an hour. He said, I should be able to clean these things up here in an hour. So he does. And Rocky takes care of the cops, and they get this guy the needed medical treatment. There's really nothing to charge him with because, even things are crazy. The maypole itself has gone back to normal. The ribbons are no longer tentacles, and the horse was corralled, and the knight is going to get some medical attention too. So in about an hour, they go back to the top floor of the building. There's some top floors where Rocky and his fellow teammates live, and there's a lot of computer equipment and tables and science equipment. And that this will just have to represent all that, the computer banks. Remember when they used to have big computers with the tape things on it? We'll build a little wall here. And they bring this device in. A certain fellow who's very much of an elastic mind takes a look at it. And he does some analysis on it. And I guess we should do a roll on that. And his science is definitely a D12. 7, yeah, so well under that. 4, it's not a huge number, but he's in his lab. He's doing stuff. I think for an effect points, that's fine. And he looks at this and he says, this is really odd. There's some off-the-shelf components in this thing. He said, but there's also some, parts of the chip. This is like, I haven't seen this before. It's almost like it's unearthly, like maybe it's of alien manufacture. What, some kind of aliens messing around in my city? Says Rocky, and the spider says, well, maybe if we all get together, we can put our brains to this and maybe even track this down. However, I think that would be for another time. So I hope you had some fun watching this. I had a really fun time making it. I've been waiting to play this adventure out for a while. When I read it in the comic book, I was like, oh, I want to use these. I think this is a great idea or a neat thing. But I did change some things to adapt it a bit. So that's all I got for today. I hope you'll join me again. Maybe watch some other Sharp Mountain Games videos here on YouTube. and we'll see you next time.